Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
Well, let's talk about free energy. So, free energy, is it possible? I mean, that's always the big thing, right? You know, you think of Tesla. We all have seen that picture of them with the big, the Tesla coil. So it's like the sparks and everything, flying around them, just coming out of the atmosphere. You always wonder, like, is that even possible? But, Tesla was pretty credible guy. But our government, we seem to pay for oil. And our government's like, yeah, go with that. You just got to keep buying more oil. That's where it all comes down to. So we're going to dig into like a lot of people's theories. I don't think this is the episode where you're going to learn how to make free energy. I'm definitely going to expose you to a lot of people who are doing it and could create it. And I also think that we're going to talk about why it's not happening, right? Why it's not a public thing that we all just have free energy, or we can't just whip something up in the backyard, and why that's not happening. Because it's kind of weird. It's kind of feels very much like a conspiracy. And anytime the government is trying to oppress us or slow us down, that's what I want to dig into. I feel like that's something that needs to be a wound that has to be picked at. So if that's your kind of thing, make sure you guys subscribe, do that kind of thing. It always helps out. So we appreciate it. But let's get into it. So the first thing, let's just talk about why we don't see any of these things happening, like why it always seems to not come to fruition. Well, the first answer is the 1951 Government Secrecy Act, or Invention and Secrecy Act, right? That's the big thing.
And a lot of that involves government and military, specifically military things that can be used by the military that they don't want regular people to have yet. Some of those things were GPS. That was around a long time before it was available to you and me. Jet-powered drones is another one that was invented and then just disappeared.
Do we even have jet-powered drones now? I guess we do, and it's a thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the Reapers.
The Reaper drones.
Well, I guess I was thinking like residential, like our little things, but you're right. I mean, they're
night vision was another one. It was around for a long time before it was available to people, and even before people knew about it. And that was all classified. That was all invented by regular people, classified by the government, and basically seized by the government. And it's like ours.
Well, and I think, right. And part of it was seized because of the Cold War, because of those damn commies. We were just so afraid of the commies. They were going to get everything.
Commies, right?
So Invention Secrecy Act in 1951. It was done under President Harry Truman. Now, basically what it entailed was it covered weapons, just like you're saying, communications, nuclear technology, radar, aerospace, crypto, and basically anything with energy. And again, it doesn't mean the government had to seize these patents. It meant they had the authority to if they felt that it was relevant to national security. And Kevin, do you feel like if there's big donors to your campaign, could what's important to them be relevant to national security? Is that possible?
Yeah. I mean, ask Jeffrey Epstein, bro. Like,
oh, national security. We can't let that fit out.
Gonna get all my friends in trouble? Come on, guys.
Now, which one would that fall under in there? I'm not sure. I'm looking at the list. Maybe communications, maybe weapons is Epstein, because once you expose the Epstein files, then people could weaponize and blackmail. See how I tied it in there? You like that?
Yeah. I mean, if everybody knows about it, it's not blackmail anymore, right? It's only blackmail if a couple of people know about it. And I'm going to tell. You better do what I want, right?
That's a good point. All right. Well, let's stay on track.
Okay.
So we had some hardcore guys like Tesla and everybody, but the government just kept snatching up things. You know, they always say like the government, the FBI went and raided the hotel room and then the offices of Tesla when he died. And they snatched up all his documents. They snatched up all Tesla stuff and it disappeared. And the family's like, we still haven't gotten that stuff back.
Right.
Why would the government do that? Or who else is doing it? Like, it doesn't even make sense, Kevin.
Well, there's a lot of, you know, and you just mentioned that a lot of corporations that are involved in this sort of stuff. One of the main things, one of the big ones that we know about now was the Phobius cartel, right? And basically an international alliance in the 1920s that conspired to artificially limit the lifespan of incandescent light bulbs to 1,000 hours. So that way you have to keep buying light bulbs, right?
I hate dude, these new ones, they say like 9 to 15 years or something. I've only lived in this house for 4 years, and I'm telling you, I'm changing light bulbs all the freaking time. And I put in all new because they were all like incandescent. And I moved in and I put in all LED. And I'm buying a like 12 pack of light bulbs like every other month.
And they used to be the incandescent bulbs were like $1.50. Yeah. And now you got to spend like $9-10 for the new ones.
Right, but it's going to last forever. So it's
going to last forever, but then it doesn't.
Yeah, that was and they were advertising it way more than 9 to 15 years when they first came out. They were kind of like, they're forever. They're just good. It turns out, Kevin, they're crap. I'm just saying, it's just bullshit. I don't know that, like, I'll probably get sued if I mention a specific company name. But I used to work in the appliance business, and I had a friend who was a former worker for one of these major manufacturing companies, just like you're talking about, and they could tell you to the month that a motor would stop by how thin or thick the wire they would use to wrap the coils. They could actually chart out when that motor was going to die. And based on what they put on there, and it's pretty crazy. Like, they actually do research that kind of thing. I'm sure that everybody's morals and stuff are improving nowadays.
Right.
They're not doing it now, but that was definitely happening in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, people aren't. I haven't heard of anybody acting in a greedy manner.
Right.
Really, that's not happening anymore. So that's cool.
I wonder if our sarcasm falls short, or if it's. I don't know. I might hit it a little bit too hard. The New Yorker in both of us is just a little too much, maybe. But so I got to be me.
One of the big things that one of the big ways that corporations use to kind of suppress these things is they'll buy the patents from the inventors, right?
Kevin, I would sell.
Yeah, I mean, at least the dude gets to make money and doesn't have a random heart attack, you know?
That's it. You know, it's like sell it
or
to
commit suicide by shooting himself in the head twice.
You always exactly with the wrong hand. But that's one. Have you seen they have like what in the movie Shooter where they had the whole like device they put on them that like holds their arm there if you want to get really elaborate. But I don't think they really investigate things that much that you could just kind of shoot them and put the gun in their hand, and it's good.
It's good. It's fine.
Especially if you like leave them in their underwear or some kind of embarrassing position. Everyone's
right.
like, oh, can't. Nope. Don't look. Nope. He killed himself. It's obvious. Look, he's in his underwear. You think somebody'd come in and shoot you if you weren't in your, no.
Yeah.
So anyway, that kind of thing happens. There's a documentary called The Lost Century. If you guys are like really want to dig deep into the inventors, there's a guy, I think his name is Dr. Greer, who did this, and it's on free energy devices. And his whole premise for the show is like, and you can see like the people doing the tests and stuff, is whatever you do, just make it open source and make it free right away, or somebody's going to kill you. And he's like, that's how you need to do it. And there's a lot of conspiracy in all this stuff. But it basically seems like, I mean, obviously big oil, right, has an incentive to come in and stop you from, dramatically reducing it, right? If you could sell to Ford a carburetor that's going to get cars 200 miles to the gallon, then obviously that's going to affect oil, right? And oil prices. Right. It really is. I mean, there's no way around it, right? Because obviously motors aren't just in cars. You could then use motors for everything else, and then, that reduce the prices. So it does have a big effect. And I understand why big oil would want to buy these things up and control it and maybe release it on their timeline. That would be okay. I get that. And them offering you money, but they're always like, every single person like releases some of their stuff, but they change the data so nobody will see it. And like, you'll hear that over and over again in these conspiracy theories. Oh, that guy changed the data so that it wouldn't. And I hate to say it, any good conspiracy theory, I feel like if I'm the government and I want to stop you, I'm going to mix a couple of crackpots in there that I can immediately disprove. Right. And you don't have to, like, I think these guys are all real, like they existed, but you kind of put them in the same theory as like Tesla. I don't think Tesla was faking his inventions, right? I don't think that he was like, hey, we could do this. And then he really couldn't. One of the big thing, what is it? The Wardcliffe Tower, I think it was called, that he was going to create.
Right, on Long Island.
Create the big free energy. And basically, JP Morgan was, financing it. And when he realized that Tesla's plan was to just give it away for free, he's like, and there's the famous quote from JP Morgan of, well, where do you put the meter? How do you charge people for this? And he's like, no, it just is there. It's everywhere, the energy. And they were like, oh, whoa, we're not paid for that. But why would you pay for that, right? If you're a rich, big energy guy, like, I understand if you're Tesla and you're like, I can create something amazing. Cool. But on the flip side, if you're the money guy and you're already making money by selling energy, why would you be like, hey, let me shoot myself in the foot and make it so I can't make money in perpetuity forever?
Why should I spend money to make no money?
That doesn't even make sense, right? So I get that, right? Now, you could say, well, we could do the common good because, Kevin, then we're going to have a better planet if we're not burning oil and fossil fuels. We're going to have a cleaner environment. Everything is going to be better for everybody, and everything is going to get cheaper for everybody if the cost of manufacturing goes way down and the pollution goes way down. But, Kevin, I could have $1 billion if I don't tell people, if I don't stop people from buying oil. I feel like the $1 billion is a pretty big incentive, to keep you in there.
Right.
Am I wrong on this one, or so?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just think about how many wars are fought over energy. You know what I mean? Free energy could like really end a lot of wars. But I mean, it's not you that's dying. Right. It's not the billionaires that are dying in wars.
Kids. Right.
They don't give a shit.
And so anyway, the deal was that tower, it basically, what he did was, I've looked into the whole static electricity from air thing that Tesla had going. And basically what he did is he ended up putting like a ground rod under the tower that went like 300 feet down. So, I mean, really significant ground rod. And then, you had the big tower up top. So basically you're taking the difference of potential, right? You have the static air, static electricity in the air up high. And then you have the ground that's even and removed from the static down low. And you're basically combining the two. It's all way bigger than me and my brain, but you see that there is a difference in potential. I know anytime I've looked into, building some of these machines, I'm a bit of a electrician myself. And, I know about things. And so I buy books and read. And what if you do it? I was able to create an antenna and ground it and static, but we were taking such little energy out of the air. Like it was so insignificant. But you know what? It turns out my brain and Tesla's brain, I like to think we're like neck and neck, but maybe it's possible we're not. I mean, he might like have a slight edge on me. I mean, I am pretty cool, but who knows?
Yeah. Nikola Tesla, there's a lot of inventions that he said that he had the concept for, right? But never were actually built.
And I believe
and one of those was the death ray. That was a fun one, right? Basically, it was an energy ray.
Well, he had drawn out like the laser and supposedly invented like lasers, which would be the same as your death ray. Like what else? Like what else has he got going?
The earthquake machine was a big one.
Yes.
Now he claimed that he could build a machine that could create earthquakes on the opposite side of the earth from wherever they set it up.
Okay. That's smart.
So
I mean, that's
and was basically building an oscillating energy back and forth and increasing with each pulse, and then disrupting things so much that it actually cracked something on the other side. But these things were all just disappeared, right? He died and some dude showed up and just took all his papers and they were never seen again.
So one of the things that I had heard about him that kind of like you always hear about like the war between Tesla and Edison, right? And AC and DC and the whole thing, right? And it all makes sense, right? Like I get it, but you want to hate one guy and like the other, everybody chooses sides with that. And obviously a lot of people go with Tesla. He had fun, cool things that I like Tesla.
Right.
But on the flip side of like Edison, if you actually know how to bring things to market, that's kind of cool. Yeah. Like people argue that Edison didn't invent everything that, he gets credit for, but he brought it to market and made it happen. Right? Like he got these things done, like he paid for it or he recognized talent. He funded, things to happen. He invented things on his own. Don't get me wrong. Right. I'm just saying he wasn't like nonstop. Well, he was, but he made by yours and my standard nonstop inventor, but he produced even more than his mind produced is what I'm saying. And that's in a good way and a positive, compliment. The weird going around and electrocuting animals to show you that Tesla was dumb. That's kind of weird, and you do get a bad taste from that one.
Electrocuting elephants.
That's not really. You can see how that could be tainted in a bad light. But basically, Edison painted in a bad light. Whatever. Edison got things done and brought things actually to the public where they said, I've heard people's friends and stuff say with Tesla, he would invent something, but as soon as it worked in his mind, he wouldn't bother finishing it because he was too busy. He was like, I figured that out and just kept going. And he would have like lab assistants that maybe could go and finish it. And sometimes they didn't. So there were a lot of things that he could see in his mind. And he's like, all right, but I'm moving on to something else because I already see how that works. It's not important.
Right.
And you understand how you could get that way if you're nonstop inventor guy, you know, I'm just saying.
Yeah. And I mean, he was so brilliant though. You see that a lot of times where somebody's incredibly smart and brilliant and it just kind of makes them go insane, you know? And he was right on the edge of that insanity for a long time.
I always think that's my problem. Like that's
Right,
why
right.
I'm like right there, you know. I'm just so smart that it's just it could go a little bit.
But there's also a lot of people that invested a lot of time and effort discrediting Tesla because of those things, like Edison.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So I think one of the thing is there are a lot of guys, and I'm not saying which guys are crackpots and which guys are not. I don't think Tesla was a crackpot. I think that guy was a freaking genius who changed our world. All right. Like, I mean, he absolutely came out with so many things that affected us in a positive way. And I think there is so much that the government took, and I would love to get that information and find out, you know, what's going on with, you know, what secrets did they steal and stop. And it disgusts me that our government would do that kind of thing. And I understand military secrets, but also the development of the world. We could be so much further ahead. That was, if you watch, I had mentioned this documentary, The Lost Century. They started out, I almost wanted to turn it off because it was nonstop, like global warming for like 10 minutes, right? They're talking about the planet, and I have no problem, whatever. I mean, you know, you can affect the planet and do bad things, but that wasn't the documentary I wanted to watch, right? I wanted to watch a documentary about free energy, and they're just telling me about global warming. And the argument is, why would a government be so against global warming, but then do everything to stop us from using fossil fuels?
Right.
Or everything keep us using fossil fuels, stop us from eliminating fossil fuels, right? So it doesn't make any sense. And that's the big argument, is why would the government do this? And I hate to say, I really feel like it does all come down to greed. But let's kind of go through. I know a lot of people, when they think free energy, they want to learn about, you know, Stanley Meyer and the car that ran on water and things like that. Let's kind of go through some of these guys. I feel like at least half of them are true. And I mean, I believe these guys, like I said, are out there, but I don't know that these things really make sense to me. But again, turns out I'm not the smartest guy in the world, and it's possible there are things out there that I don't understand or know completely, right? So the first guy who always comes up is Tesla always is the first guy who comes up, I think, when you think free energy. I think that picture of him with the Tesla coil just, you know, is amazing. But Charles Pogue in the 1930s created a carburetor that basically, he said, it vaporized gas before combustion. And they argued that he could get 200 to 220 miles per gallon out of a vehicle. And he published a study, and then of course somebody broke in and stole everything, so he wasn't able. Now, couldn't he rebuild it? You know, couldn't he?
I built it once, right?
If you built it once, like, oh, you came in and you stole all my notes. It only worked with my notes, you know, like that I don't really buy, you know.
But I mean, it does seem that somebody did break in and
absolutely
wrecked his equipment and stole his shit. Yeah,
but was it him? Like what? Like and these questions and concerns can come up with like anybody we're talking about, right? That's my whole point is, you know, what's the real truth? We don't know. And that's kind of the beauty of a conspiracy, is people can, you know, can mess with you like that. You don't know, you know. I'm trying to find the right guy here. All right. So he was a Canadian too. So right there, that makes me question everything. He took a V8 Ford and, you know, supposedly got 200 miles to the gallon. But so here's where it falls apart in my head. I understand carburetors. I understand combustion engines. And, to just say, well, it's because it vaporized it before combustion. Think of fuel injectors. I mean, they really are turning it into a mist. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's not
Right.
what are you
Well, I
doing
mean, I think
even more,
the
right?
big difference, right, is that it's actually atomized, right? We
Yes.
say atomized when we say, or vaporized, but it's really a mist, and it's not actual gas
Yeah.
that you're running,
Right. And
it's
that's
still liquid.
yeah. So it just, I don't know. It's funny because I have this, there's a new Edelbrock carburetor that I have in the Ford in the F100 I got. And it gets like 16 miles to the gallon, which is pretty good for an F100, I got to say.
Yeah.
For
It is.
1970, beat
Yeah,
302, people are like, oh, it's better than my Ram, that. So I'm just saying, there's, I think my Ram, sometimes I'm getting like 16 now, but a lot of times I'm getting 14 too, So anyway, that said, and I drive the F100 like a bat out of hell, because it's like Dukes of Hazzard, you get in there and it's exciting, right? In my mind. And so anyway, so it's supposedly this Edelbrock carburetor, they advertise it. It atomizes the stuff instead of the old. And again, it's turning it into a mist. It's not really atomizing it, but I don't know. So maybe he had some secret that I don't understand, right? So that's definitely possible. And, basically it doesn't add up. Why aren't people recreating it? And then the argument is, well, people are recreating it, Now, he supposedly died in 1985 of natural causes and old age. No evidence of assassination with him. Okay. However, does that, I don't know. Why didn't he recreate it after his lab got broken into? It just scared him and intimidated him. I don't really know what the truth is. So the next one that comes to mind is Tom Ogle.
Right.
And Tom Ogle, this is 1970s Texas guy. So a lot more believable,
right?
Because he's from Texas than Canadian, right? So I'm going to give him some credit. He toned it back. Hey, my engine only gets me 100 miles per gallon.
Right.
But 100 miles per gallon out of a Ford Galaxy.
A Ford Galaxy.
And I don't know if you know, but a Ford Galaxy is a freaking boat.
Yeah, it's a 5,000-pound car is what I looked it up.
Serious car.
It's serious.
Yeah, my buddy had one, and we used to race, and he'd be like, "You get the Galaxy," and I'm like, "Yeah, thanks." I think it had a Chevy 350 in it at the time, but because why wouldn't you put a Chevy engine? Then you get the best of both worlds, right? It looks good and it runs. So you know how Fords work, right?
Jesus. Everybody knows that the Ford bodies are the ones that hold up, and every Ford I see on the street around me is half rust. But
yeah, but you live in the Rust Belt, so that's how it is. But anyway, he basically, and here's the thing, the same argument though. He basically, there was something about, he had a lawnmower and it got a hole in the fuel tank, and he put a vacuum line from the fuel tank over to the carburetor just to so when it evaporated, it didn't waste the emissions. And all of a sudden it dramatically started getting better fuel economy. Well, all right, for you to notice that it's better, I feel like I got to go twice as far easily.
Right.
There has to be 100%
something
gain
that
notice
it. Right.
Because I wouldn't notice if my lawnmower started going, I could cut 2/3 of the lawn instead of half the lawn.
Right.
I don't think I'd even notice that. I wouldn't go, oh,
right.
I see what I did there. Right. I feel like there's got to be dramatic improvement. And I got to say, reintroducing the gas is not really going to do that in my mind. It's not going to, but again, I don't know everything and I don't know his secrets. Right. So I understand why people would be skeptical. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a lie. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm saying I understand why people would be skeptical. But he had that vapor fuel system where it's basically you're loading it in instead of liquid, so it's ready to burn, right? And that's really where the hydrogen, going in an engine, it's going in as a vapor and just ready to burn. That's nice. But anyway, major oil interests were ready to buy him out, offering him tons of money. He did demonstrations and showed journalists, and he ran that car. I believe people saw him run that Galaxy for their test,
for extra gas tanks, and they,
right,
went over everything. So it wasn't, if it was a con, it was a really good one.
Right. Now, I will say that NASCAR would always inspect, what the heck is the guy's name? Anyway, Smokey Yunick. There's this guy, he was a legend in NASCAR, and he was always doing the modifications to whatever. And his trick was he expanded the fuel line to like a 1/2 inch instead of 3/8, and he added like another 10 feet of fuel line.
It was all in the line.
So it was in the line, and the tank looked good. And they were like, well, we can't find anything. So the big joke was that NASCAR did their inspection, and they're like, we can't find any. They had emptied the gas tank, and so they fill it, to check for displacement.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, we can't find anything wrong with it. It looks right. And he's like, and they were like, but we're still going to disqualify you for this other stuff. And then he's like, you know what? Fuck you guys. And he gets in and he drives the car away with the empty gas tank and drives home. And they're like, but you, and they were like, that's a problem. So I'm just saying, you should look at it. He's a funny guy. But I'm just saying there are ways to be secret and sneaky. You just, who knows? Right. I feel like I could fool a reporter if you can fool NASCAR techs. Right. That's, again, I'm not knocking the guy. This Ogle guy probably, had something awesome, and I just don't understand it. But I'm just saying it's possible to see why somebody would say, well, yeah, but until it was, really documented, we don't know. Now, the weird thing, though, Tom Ogle, 1981, dies at 24 years old. A suicide overdose involving Darvon and alcohol. But he wasn't known to be a drinker or known to do drugs. Just mysteriously that day,
just loaded up.
So again, that adds to that. There's got to be something fishy going on. Stanley Meyer, that's the one you guys have seen, the water fuel car, where he had that big like dune buggy thing that he took to all the car shows or whatever, and ran his car on water. He was a big one. The dune buggy could run primarily on water that was separated into hydrogen and oxygen using resonance. His demonstrations were legendary, and everybody, seemed to go for it. Now, they did say that in Ohio court, he was found guilty of gross and egregious fraud related to investors. Now, to investors, I don't know what that means exactly. I mean, I know what those words mean. I just don't know what they're getting at. Did he defraud them like, hey, if you guys each give me 100,000, I'll give you a share of this car that I'm going to bring to the market. And he just kept the money. That doesn't mean he lied about the water vapor, right?
Right.
But it does sound suspicious. So, they said his system violated energy conservation laws. I don't even know what that means. So that's something to look into. He died in 1998 after collapsing at a restaurant. He went to have a meeting with investors. Is that right? And and he's the one that came in and was like, they poisoned me. And
right. He went outside the restaurant, ran it, told his brother he was poisoned. Ambulance came, they took him to the hospital. It was like, yeah, he had a heart attack.
Yeah, So, hey, and then the coroner was like, well, no, that was a brain aneurysm. But that's kind of but it turns out there's no other evidence other than people seeing him say that they poisoned him. but they're like, we don't know that he said that for real because only a couple people saw it, and so and that's how you decide if something's all right. Now there's this other guy, Floyd Sweet. They called him Sparky, Floyd Sweet, who made a vacuum triode amplifier. Now this is crazy. He had this little box that was like 5 inches, like, I don't know. I'm looking at my Rode microphone box, something like that. Like it's like 5 inches by like 3 inches by an inch. And he could just plug everything into it. Now, the video that you see, I was going to show it. I was like, I could grab that video and put it on there. But basically, he's got the box with some wires going to a bigger box sitting on a workbench. And honestly, you could run a power cord up to the workbench. Like, it doesn't even, like, there's nothing, you don't see everything. It's not like, on a table in the middle of the room where you can see everything. This is like really could be easily faked. And he like plugs in like 10 light bulbs and he's like, look, they all come on. And I'm like, I could rig that up. Because he's even got it plugged into a box with receptacles and he plugs in all the lights. And I'm like, yeah, but you could just have an extension cord out of that box going down the back that I can't see, but whatever. Anyway, he was supposedly the man. If his stuff worked, he's a freaking rock star, but I don't know. Right. He also had some weird like anti-gravity stuff going on, but he had no independently verified stuff. Basically, people are like, yeah, he kind of made it up. So you just don't know. That was in like 1995, or he died in 95. Natural causes, declining health. They were like slipping him some arsenic in his tuna.
Yeah, a little bit of arsenic every day. And
Yeah. If you want to get into more things, there was like Joseph Papp made a gas engine that, could do pretty good. However, when he was showing it to people, it ended up exploding and killing people. So that one was a little, if you want to look into Eugene Malov had cold fusion. There was a cool movie with Keanu Reeves, I think. I wanted to go back and watch that before this episode about cold fusion, and they were going to, save the world, and it was going to be great. But let's kind of circle back. Like, why would anybody freaking try and stop this stuff, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. The government has done a lot of shady things in the past. So you guys might remember Edward Snowden. That wasn't in America's best interest, all the stuff they're doing. Why do they do it? I don't know. They do it for greed, right? They do it for money. 2008 financial crisis, right? They bailed out all those banks. Was that really in the best interest of the American people?
I mean, it was in the best interest of the banks.
Right. Like the banks would have gone under. And
that's how the free market's supposed to work. If you're shitty at your job, then you go out of business and somebody else that's better takes over.
If you want to sell my mortgage for pennies on the dollar, I might buy it back. I would be that guy, because they're having a big bankruptcy sale, I don't know. I'm just saying, putting that out there. Kevin, I don't know. So the bottom line is, I absolutely think there are patents out there that can do amazing things. This stuff is given to like DARPA and stuff. And, that's the defense stuff going on there. But why are we not seeing cooler things unless
why has my iPhone not gotten better for the past 10 years? Like, it's the same goddamn phone.
Dude, everybody at work was like, Chuck, you're still rocking an iPhone 5. And they were like, you got to get a new one and whatever.
Why?
So no joke, right? I go and I get an iPhone 13. Obviously, this is like 2 years back or maybe 3 years back, whenever iPhone 13 was the new one, right? And I go and I get it. And I'm like, it's the exact same, dude. It like surfs the same. And there's not like
the camera's the same.
Everything. Yeah. I didn't notice the camera to be any better. I didn't, and I'm sure it was, right? Like whatever.
Right.
But the camera, But as far as surfing the internet and your service, didn't do a thing for me. And I'm like, it's the exact same. And the answer I got from everybody was, well, what did you think?
Yeah.
Well,
you told me I just spent $1,200 on a new goddamn phone that is the same as the old one.
That's the exact same. And it's funny. One of my kids, they were like, I think iPhone 6 was like the cutoff where it wouldn't take the new upgrade, which I have to point out is kind of bullshit, because that was the whole thing with switching to Apple over Windows. They were like, oh, we make it so that things don't become outdated because the software just keeps going. Now, obviously, they're going to have things that go faster, but we're still going to support your old. That was the argument, right? Turns out that was total bullshit. And they were like, oh, the iPhone 6, we're going to, make that so that you don't get updates. But again, I don't get updates. So like, it's been working with the version that it has for no problem. Why do I need a new phone?
Yeah.
Kevin, they just try and stress me out. That's what I'm telling you.
All I'm saying is that the Ford Model T got 22 miles to the gallon. And the average Ford vehicle now gets 21 miles to the gallon.
Kevin, do you think there's a slight difference in weight and comfort and accessories and things
I'm just saying it seems like we're spending a lot of time and a lot of innovation is happening and shit isn't really fucking changing.
Kevin, the Model T was like half wood, I think.
It did not have an air conditioner or a CD player, I'll tell you that.
There you go.
It did not come with Sirius XM radio.
Anyway, so don't forget to like and subscribe. We really appreciate you guys. And I think we have some new exciting things coming up. So make sure you're looking out for it. So with that, I say stay safe, and we will talk to you guys next week.